Hello my friends, I'm Dana Venanati and we are in my kitchen in New York City making some Italian favorites with Pomì crushed tomatoes with basil. To make this super easy creamy tomato basil gnocchi, all you do is start with store-bought gnocchi. You get them a little brown and crispy in a pan. Clearly, these gnocchi are deeply golden brown, which means they're going to be super crispy and delicious. I'm pulling them out, I'm putting them right back in the bowl they came from, and we're going to make a quick sauce. To be completely honest, the Pomì crushed tomato and basil, you can take them right out of the box, add a little salt, and boom, you have a sauce. But we're going to dress it up with a little extra seasoning and some vegan ingredients to make it creamy but still plant-based. This is actually one of my favorite parts of these kinds of packages because you can squeeze every little bit, every last drop out. So I know I'm not wasting any of these beautiful tomatoes. So these Pomì tomatoes make a beautiful sauce just as is. There's no salt in them, super clean ingredients, just tomato and basil. So we're gonna add a little bit of salt, a little bit of chili flakes, some basic Italian herbs. I've always got a little bit of garlic powder happening and some onion powder. Everything is better with a kiss of garlic. Something I love is you can actually, come here, you can see that there's fresh basil in the tomatoes. That is sadly quite rare. I am a sucker for any kind of creamy tomato sauce. So if you are like that, you can add a little touch of heavy cream right now. Everyone's happy. But I have a lot of people in my life who eat plant-based or entirely vegan. So this sauce is gonna be for them today. First things first, kind of like a secret ingredient. I don't know if you know this, but this is called white miso. Miso comes in a variety of colors. I know it doesn't look white, but it's called white miso. And it's a fermented soybean paste. If you have to describe the flavor, it's kind of salty and umami, and it's going to give this sauce great depth without adding any cream, anything animal-based, just soybean. Speaking of, we're gonna add a smidge of nutritional yeast as well. This baby's like the powerhouse. Nutritional yeast. It's going to give this sauce a cheesy flavor without adding an ounce of cheese. Crispy gnocchi going back in. Oh, the miso. It takes these very clean, simple, beautiful tomatoes and gives them such an elegant depth. That's it, my friends. Creamy tomato basil gnocchi on your table, I would say within 15 minutes. So easy, so delicious. Any plate of pasta in the Venanati household gets finished with a little drizzle of olive oil and some fresh herbs. Got some basil here, so we'll grab some of those smaller leaves. If this wasn't for my plant-based friends, I would use a little sprinkling of Parmesan cheese, but I think she looks pretty good as is. Okay, so we've got creamy tomato basil gnocchi made super simple thanks to those Pomì tomatoes. Those tomatoes are so sweet and bright in flavor. I cannot believe this came together in 15 minutes. It's creamy, it's luscious. The gnocchi, as promised, are crispy on the outside, soft and pilly on the inside. All I need is a glass of red wine and a good movie. You will not see me for quite a little while. This is my creamy tomato basil gnocchi, and next up you have to keep watching because we're making the ultimate tomato dip sauce. So we are making tomato dip sauce, which is essentially homemade tomato jam that you can make in 10 minutes and layer it in a little jar with some cheese and some pesto. To make the jam, you're gonna start with a package of crushed tomatoes with basil from Pomì. We're gonna cook it down with some vinegar and some sugar. It really heightens those natural tomato acidic bright flavors. We'll let it cool and we'll layer it up with, of course, you know me, bring on the carbs, lots of crusty bread for dipping. I'm using 1 pack of the Pomì crushed tomatoes with basil to make a super easy tomato jam. We're gonna add a little bit of garlic, but you can just take a grater and run the garlic along the grater. Same result, usually in half the time. This looks good to me. So we're gonna drop in minced garlic. When you brush your knife across the cutting board, you dull your knife. So if you wanna collect an ingredient like this chopped garlic, use the back of your knife. A little pinch of salt. Looking good. And we're just gonna cook this down. To make our tomato jam and really intensify the flavors, we're gonna add two things. A little bit of sugar. You can use brown sugar as the recipe says. Here I've got some normal granulated sugar. The sugar is gonna help tighten things up, and we're also gonna add a little bit of one of my favorite ingredients of all time, balsamic vinegar. Any vinegar will work. Apple cider, white vinegar, just regular old distilled white vinegar, or champagne vinegar. Look how thick it's getting. That's exactly what we're looking for. That's it, we're pretty much done. I feel really good when I cook with Pomì tomatoes because you might not know, but the company is 100% farmer owned. So that means everything that we pay for the tomatoes goes straight back to the people who are growing it. I love that. I feel good about using them. Do you see that? That's almost the consistency we're looking for. We're almost there. Pomì crushed tomatoes with basil are just that, tomatoes and basil. And if you take a look, obviously I added some garlic because I'm me, but you can see these beautiful kind of green specks. That's the fresh basil in these tomatoes. And since I've got some beautiful parsley here, why not add a little bit of that too? I always love using fresh herbs in the kitchen because they make everything taste brighter. I'm happy with the texture, but need to make sure I'm happy with the flavor too. It smells so good. Seriously, I could eat this by the spoonful. It's bright, it's sweet, it's acidic. So tasty. With the cheese and the pesto, it's gonna be even better. This takes just 5 minutes to cook, but you do need to give it some time to cool before we pop it in a jar and layer it up with some good stuff. You can put the jam all by itself in a jar like this and it will keep sealed airtight in your fridge for a few weeks, but I like to take it up a notch. We're gonna dress it up to look like the Italian flag. Starting with a little bit of homemade pesto. So this is just a really easy basil pesto, fresh basil, olive oil, some pine nuts and some Parmesan cheese, and this is gonna be the green layer of our Italian flag. Next up, we need a layer of something white. Obviously, you know me, you know it's gonna be cheese. So we've got some really simple stuff here, some whole milk ricotta cheese. This looks great. And now, our beautiful homemade tomato jam. It's cooled and ready to be the cherry on top, if you will. I've got some fresh bread here that I just sliced up. That tomato jam is so insanely delicious for something that we made in 5 minutes.